Step inside the submersible, strap in, and prepare for the ride of your life as we descend to the deepest, darkest corners of our world. Beyond the abyssal plains where no light reaches, with less than 0.001% of the ocean directly visited by man, we know more about our solar system than we do about our oceans. And yet, the few glimpses we have had of the deep have revealed a world more alien than we ever could have anticipated. Strange creatures lurk in the darkness, their physical appearance unlike anything near the surface. These animals have evolved in the absence of man, untouched by the vastly changing world near the light. Just 200 meters, 650 feet into our descent, the light dramatically fades. Peering out of the window in our submersible, we strain our eyes as darkness begins to engulf us. This is the midnight zone. Below us, only darkness. Above us, the faint glimmer of sunlight penetrating the surface. The pressure down here is beginning to build to unsurvivable levels. But what was that? Depth 1,300 feet.
Sonar anomaly detected.
The sonar has detected something approaching the sub. It's slow-moving, purposeful in its movements, and it's heading directly for us. A collision down here would be catastrophic. We strain our eyes out of the windows, trying to catch a glimpse of this elusive shadow. On the radar, it is measuring 10 meters long, 30 feet. Then we spot it, a long, thin, silvery line emerging from the murkiness. It looks like a snake, or perhaps a prehistoric sea creature, the long neck of a plesiosaurus. Have we discovered a mysterious species? When it comes into view properly, we can see that it is some kind of fish. Its dorsal fin undulates along the length of its back. Its eyes are huge, and we watch in amazement as it floats silently by. It is a giant oarfish. We continue slowly downwards. It has been becoming noticeably darker. The greyness is becoming black. When we pass the 1,000-meter mark, 3,280 feet below the surface, the light disappears altogether. We are now beyond the twilight zone. We switch our headlight on, illuminating a narrow column in front of us. There appears to be nothing down here, only darkness and the empty void of the deep. But in reality, we are in relatively shallow waters compared to where we are headed. This is just the beginning, and it doesn't take long for us to spot something else in our torch beam. Around a meter, 4 feet, long, it emerges stealthily from the gloom. It is one of the most iconic deep-sea fish, something we have been hoping to see. It seems to be entirely made up of some demon-like jaws, with very little body to see. Its enormous, gaping mouth bears rows of razor-sharp, pointed teeth. It is a terrifying goblin-like fish with an appendage sticking out above its head, dangling in front of its face. It is, of course, the deep-sea anglerfish. But as nightmarish as these fish look, they have a far more disturbing attribute. The ghoulish individual caught in our torch beam is a female. The males have a far more unsettling existence. Once they locate a female, they stick to her and merge with her, becoming incorporated into her tissues and blood vessels, becoming a parasite living on the female. But our attention is broken. Depth 6,560 feet.
Sonar anomaly detected.
Something enormous is approaching the sub. It looks like another vessel. Is someone else down here in the darkness with us? Nervously, we scan the everlasting blackness outside, turning the beam of light to try and spot the rapidly approaching giant. Then something enormous sweeps past our viewing window. A huge body. At first, we thought it might be a giant sea monster trying to swallow us whole. But then we realize that it is a whale, a sperm whale on the hunt. We're lucky that we're not on the menu, but it is clearly on the path of something because it disappears just as suddenly as it arrived. These incredible mammals can plunge more than 2,000 meters, 6,500 feet, into the freezing depths in search of their prey. But how can they survive such depths? Aside from holding their breath for more than 90 minutes, their rib cage is attached to their spine with flexible cartilage. This means that it can collapse, allowing the pressure to crush their lung cavity without breaking bones. Of course, if we were to step outside our submersible, we would effectively implode. Thousands of tons of water pressing down on you from all sides is too much for many organisms to bear. And we all look nervously around as the walls of the submersible creak and groan under the pressure. We are told that this is normal. The metal has some flexibility to it, allowing it to constrict and contract the deeper we go. We just hope the walls will hold out. Looking at our depth reader, we are now moving out of the bathypelagic zone as we descend deeper than 13,000 feet. This is the furthest we have been. Although remarkably, humans have made it deeper in various deep-sea submersibles. This is the abyssal zone. If we turned the headlight off, it would be just like closing our eyes, until a few glimmers of light appear in the distance, like fireflies in the midnight sky. This faint glow comes from the numerous deep-sea creatures that use bioluminescence to communicate with one another. They give the darkness an eerie glow. We pass beyond the abyssal plains into the Hadal depths, where the ocean's deepest trenches carve their way through the darkness. The deepest recorded depth is Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, lying an incredible 11,000 meters, nearly 36,000 feet, or 7 miles beneath the surface. But we aren't at those depths yet. Although we are making good progress, and our sonar tells us something else is nearby. Depth 22,600 feet.
Sonar anomaly detected.
Below us, our beam falls on something. It's man-made, not another creature of the deep, but something more sinister. It rises up from the sea floor, some kind of structure, a hidden past. Metal railings, a bent and buckled stern, a hull and bow intact. This is some kind of shipwreck. Lying at 6,900 meters, more than 4 miles below the surface, the identification markings reveal that we have stumbled upon the USS Samuel B. Roberts. It was a destroyer escort with the US Navy. Considered one of the bravest crews during the Second World War, it was caught completely off guard and completely outnumbered by the Japanese. An intense battle ensued in the Philippine waters, the Battle of Samar, one of the largest naval battles in history. The escort vessel, not fully equipped for outright war, steered headfirst into the conflict, putting themselves in harm's way to give the rest of the US fleet time to respond. It played a vital role in distracting the Japanese long enough for US aircraft and other ships to mount an attack. But this came at a price. Not built for intense battle, the USS Samuel Roberts was outgunned and took heavy fire from large caliber shells. The damage to the vessel was catastrophic. Their engines were destroyed and they lost power and steering ability. They were effectively dead in the water and all crew were ordered to abandon ship. But their ordeal wasn't over. The ship sank, disappearing below the waves, engulfed by the Pacific. 224 men entered the sea that morning, all hoping for the miracle of a rescue. But with open wounds seeping into the water around them, drowning was the least of their fears. Sharks were drawn to the area. Attracted by the smell of fresh blood, their dorsal fins sliced the surface, and one by one, injured men were plucked from the sea. 25 men were taken by sharks that day, or succumbed to their injuries while floating in the water. Those that survived fought off sharks, hypothermia, and the terrifying realization that help might not be coming. For 50 hours, they clung to life until US vessels arrived and pulled them out of the water. Of the 224 crew on board the ship, 89 lost their lives. When the ship descended into the darkness and beyond, the bow struck the seafloor with such force that it bent and buckled. The stern was torn from the rest of the hull, but it remained hidden beyond the abyssal depths for almost 80 years. Until June 2022, when underwater explorer Victor Vescovo came across the wreck in the Hadal Zone, the deepest region of the oceans. It is the deepest known shipwreck ever discovered, its battle scars still visible, its final resting place. But USS Samuel Roberts wasn't the only US ship to be lost that day. Around 15 miles away rests another wreck. It is that of USS Johnston, a destroyer. It was also involved in the battle off Sonar. During the carnage, it lost its guns and took heavy structural damage. A fire broke out on the bridge, and at 9:45 that morning, the crew were ordered to abandon ship. They watched their ship sink beneath the waves 25 minutes later, when crew aboard the Japanese destroyer Yukikaze saluted the sinking ship. We stare out at the gloom in front of us, remembering those who fought for our freedom and what it must have been like in those moments before they were lost to the sea. It's a somber moment, and we continue our descent. Now, it feels truly as though no life exists. Outside the window, the temperature is between 1 and 2 degrees Celsius, and yet we are amazed to see some signs of life. But life down here endures the toughest conditions on Earth. There is a complete lack of sunlight. The temperatures are bitterly cold, food is scarce, and the water pressure is extreme. Many of the animals we spot are soft and slimy. They are largely blind and colorless. They feed on bacteria or organic debris that sinks from above, the remnants of dead and decaying plants and animals. Depth recording, 32,800 feet, passing 10,000 meters. We have reached the bottom, a deep oceanic trench miles from the sea's surface. But perhaps one of the most shocking discoveries for us is the pollution we see before our very eyes. Here, at one of the deepest points in our ocean, there is no escaping the effect of man. Microplastics and synthetic fibers float by our viewing window, but our thoughts are interrupted. Suddenly, we pick up an acoustic anomaly. We strain our ears, all eyes on the sonar screen. It's a banging sound, like metal on metal, a distant clanging echoing in the still darkness. But then it gets louder. It's more distinct. Something is getting closer. Too close. The sonar screen flickers,